Happy Thursday. How you doing? Uh, well, first off, there will be no Happy Friday video tomorrow. We're taking off for a couple of days. Going to go see our friends up in New Hampshire, North Lincoln, Franconia, Notch. Summer's winding down. Get one more time and hang out at Echo Lake. Throw up a tent, do a little canoeing, and just hang out. So leaving early tomorrow morning. We're back Sunday night. Um, they say some people are conspiracy theorists, some are skeptics. I'm not big on conspiracy theorists. I tend to lean more towards being a skeptic, but not a full-blown skeptic where I gotta question everything. But things come up at times that, let's just say, it makes me a little suspicious. I didn't think about it until after I, talked about my experience. We know trees coming down and shit that happened in our neighborhood. And during that blizzard, there was major power outages across the state, Rhode Island next door, up in New Hampshire. When they whack, we get our nor'easter here, it hits all of New England up to Maine, Vermont. And I thought about, power being out, trees going down. Like I said, I got lucky. That tree missed my house by about 40 feet. Guy down the street, he wasn't so lucky. And like I said, he was out of his house for about a year. They had to rebuild it. And that was mainly because of the time, of the year. It's winter. There was a lot of snow. Once these trees and shit came down, it continues to snow. Where you just saw mounds of where it was, but you couldn't even see it. It was covered with another foot of snow on top of it. So he had to wait for the weather to break. And the snow melted. In his case, it wasn't till like spring came around when they were able to go in there now and get that tree off his house, cut it up, and then begin to tear down all the rest of the upper structure of the house and then rebuild the whole thing. And it was one big mess. So that's why in his case, it was about a year before him and his wife were back in the house. I pretty much did the same thing. I waited. I had no problem. The house, we could still live in the house. It didn't damage the house at all. The power being out, we managed, like within, in our case, in our area, New Bedford and surrounding communities, all our power outages we had in certain locations was all restored like in 5 days. Fortunately, we had heat, gas. The furnace had a manual override because with no thermostat, and you wouldn't kick on and kick off without that signal. Had a manual override in cases of power loss. Still get heat. The thing is, once you engaged it and it fired up and you had heat, it wouldn't shut off and turn back on at a certain temperature. You had to do it manually, but at least you had heat. Don't have that here. We lose our power here and we won't have heat. Have gas to cook, but not to heat. So in my case, it was a 5-day stretch. Property wasn't. Hold on one second. Okay, sorry. I saw my phone flash with a text. My VTH days, I do check immediately because there were times when I'm getting a little reminder or, can you get this on the way up? And anyway, it's my business, not yours. I don't mean to sound rude, but that's the fucking fact. And then when, I too waited till the weather broke. Figured the tree ain't hurting nothing back there. Let it sit there until the weather's nice enough to go out there, with a chainsaw and cut it up, and I did. And did it over a weekend. It was a good-sized pine tree, a good 75, 80 footer. They were all big. And it took me a whole weekend. Cut it up, started at the end, down like 2-foot sections, 2-foot sections, 2-foot sections, 2-foot sections. I put that chainsaw through fucking hell, let me tell you. And I didn't own one at the time. I rented it from Peckham Tool Rental. I brought that thing back. The guy's looking at it like the blades all, Hey. But I thought about it after. I said, why is Java going to be out of there a month? The house isn't damaged like my neighbor's was. His house was pretty much the same as mine. In fact, from what I saw, I did go watch that video. His tree is further away from his fucking house than mine was to my house. Our house was livable. Why isn't his? Power lines going down. I can understand. Lines go down and they're on the house, you know. That could be a problem. But if they're already severed before it gets to your house, there's no juice running through those wires. So even that is safe. It's just to get them out of the way. Once they're wrapped around your front door and you got to walk through wires to get in, you know. Why does he have to be out of there, you know, for a month? And here's where the skeptic in me comes out. And I become a little suspicious. And it was due to talking with someone that kind of spot the thought. They say, hey, you know, another thing, coincidence. I know it can happen, but I don't believe it happens all the time. You know, I don't believe coincidence. Every situation is always pure coincidence. There are reasons why things happen. And I was on the phone with somebody, said, hey, you find that kind of funny? Like how, you know, he gets wrapped up in his using the N-word. You know, suddenly he's got to switch to another channel. All his videos are gone. And was that coincidence? Coincidence? At that particular time, he got hacked, according to what he said. Is it pure coincidence that the day after he goes to court, he's suddenly in a hotel? Now, the tree coming down, I'm quite sure that was not premeditated plan. I don't think he went out there with a chainsaw and cut the tree down. But did he even mention how it happened? There wasn't any big storm that I know of, you know, here on the East Coast. Windstorm, hurricane, not a blizzard, not the winter. Was it an accident? A big truck hit the tree? Did he mention at all how or why the tree went down? He has access to get in and out of the house from what I saw. It's not like it fell, well, it didn't hit the house, but it's right in front of the door so you can't go in. Yeah. There's no reason why you can't get in and out of that house. The tree is more than far enough away. It's not winter, so we don't have electric. He'll survive. It's not winter. He doesn't have to be concerned about needing heat. He gets his free meals at the senior center, so you don't even have to worry about being able to cook. So why does he have to be out of there for a month? Be in a hotel room for a month? And that's when this conversation came up last night. I said, well, I just find it a bit peculiar that the day after he goes to court, he said it was for a credit card, but that was dropped. And he had mentioned, you know, about, anyway, I'll cut right to the chase. He said, I think it could have a little more to do with the house. This foreclosure has been going on since January, you know, and that's just when it was officially filed. He was already behind before then. It had to get to a point before they start a foreclosure procedure. You don't just miss one payment and they start a foreclosure procedure. There were many months of missed payments, late payments, problems coming up before they finally get to a point. They say, okay, because they know a foreclosure procedure can take time. Like I told you, I know a few things about that due to my ex-wife's nephew that's been in real estate for, you know, quite some time. And they still call me uncle. I'm still on good terms with all of them, even my ex. So, you know, we've seen people foreclosed. They've been in the house for a year, 2, 3, even up to 4 and 5 years before they're finally evicted. You know, the bank has to take a lot of things into consideration before they want the person out. They got to think about what they're going to do with the property. Now it's dead property, you know. How are they going to sell it? What's it worth? But based on what I saw with this house, now I can understand why he said one time, oh, they only wanted to give me $20,000 for my house. Yeah, that's all those fucking trailer homes are worth. You know? That's all they're really worth. I think he thinks over 300,000. You know, another thing somebody told me, because he puts out all his business. Somebody asked him, he said, yeah, somebody asked him what he owed on it. He said, well, he wants to get, you know, over 300 for it. because he owes 150 something thousand on it. So that way he'll have 150,000 left over to go buy another house cash when he goes to Virginia to see his girlfriend. You know, he's the one that says these things, not me. Not me. I don't make this shit up. He says it. You know? So anyway, let's just say that what it boiled down to is after talking a little bit, he said, I think there's a very good possibility that, you know, him in a hotel really doesn't have much to do with a tree. You know, I got a tree pretty close to that size, all cut up out of my yard by myself over a fucking weekend. Don't tell me New Jersey, Department of Works, you know, road crew, whatever. It's going to be a few guys going there. They can't get that tree cut up an hour there in a fucking day. How long should it take their power utility companies to come and string a fucking line? You've had car accidents here where the fucking poles are taken out. Now they got to replace a whole pole, and sometimes sections it pulls another one down with it. They've had to replace, you know, multiple poles at times and restring it. And they do it in a couple of days. Why is it going to take a month? Anyway, I figure I'll leave you with a little food for thought before we take off tomorrow morning early. Normally about 3.5, 4 hours, depending on traffic. Once you get through Boston, hit Route 1, head straight up, man. You know, 70, 75 all the way. Stay in your lane, the state troopers leave you alone. So, we'll be there well before noon. Get over to Echo Lake. When I get in from the VTH tonight, I gotta get the shit. Sleeping bags, tent, Coleman, gas grill, and a few things in the back of the Acadia, clothes, and get everything ready. And we're gonna head out early tomorrow morning, and weekend weather looks real good. And we'll be back sometime Sunday night. You know, summer's winding down already. Fall is, we can feel it. You know, overnight now it's dropping down into the mid-50s. We feel the change in seasons coming on here. You know, we're so used to it. Summer's winding down. So, and you know, some people are never happy. A lot of people bitched and moaned about, we did have a brutal summer. Fucking July was fucking brutal. Heat index over 100, a good 60% of the month. You know, 70, 80% humidity. I wish it was cool. And now, in a few months, it'll be fucking 5 below outside. It's snow and ice and shit. And people's heat will be turned up full blast. You know, utility, gas, electric bills, whatever you have for heat are going to be sky fucking high. And people will be bitching saying they wish it was warm. Some people you just can't please. Listen, have a great weekend. Have fun. Stay safe. You know, we see what happens with the Jabba. It is Hotel Hell. Bates Motel.